Hello, dear student. Welcome to our last lesson in psycholinguistics. This is the lesson number 13, which is going to be about language and brain. Okay, so evidently, our linguistics ability does not depend primarily on the structure of our vocal cords. For other mammals, also have vocal cords. So basically, humans are the only creatures that have language. So this language is not because of the structure of vocal cords, because animals also they have vocal cords as we do, but they don't have the ability to speak or communicate or to speak. That's it. So human linguistic ability largely depends instead on the structure and dynamics of a human brain. So this language ability has to do with the brain and not with vocal cords. Human beings are the only organisms in which one particular part of the left half of the brain is larger than the corresponding part of the right half. So if we look at the brain, we have two hemispheres, okay, right half and the left half. In the left half, that is the left hemisphere, we have a part which is bigger. We're going to see what this is part about. Localization. Where is the language or where is language located in the brain? Now, to answer this question, we look at the case of Phineas K. Gage. So this guy experienced a traumatic brain injury when an iron rod was driven through his entire skull, destroying much of his frontal lobe. So it had an accident, and then an iron rod was driven in through his head, okay, in the front part of the head, and somehow miraculously survived the accident. Okay, however, language capacity remained intact. So he did not lose language, even though his brain had, an injury, and so he did not lose the ability to speak. Okay, even though his friends said that he was no longer after that. I mean, he was no longer the guy they knew. So a lot of things changed in his behavior, but he maintained language. So he kept this um, capacity of language. So the point of this gauge case is that if our language ability is located in the brain, it is not clear that it is not situated right at the front. Okay, or say so. It is clear. It is not. It is clear. It is not situated right at the front, because if that was the case, okay, if that were the case, he would not have, been able to speak. So whatever the language is, it is not in the front part of the brain. Lateralization. The localization of cognitive and perceptual functions in particular hemisphere of the brain is called lateralization. Right? So the left hemisphere has primary responsibility for language. So language is located in the left part of the human brain, while scales as well as the perception of non-linguistic sounds and the musical melodies are situated in the right hemisphere. Now, brain lateralization for major mental functions under the control of each hemisphere is given as follows. So we can see the functions, okay, that we have in the left hemisphere and the functions that we have in the right hemisphere. So language and speech are in the left. Analytical reasoning, temporal ordering, reading and writing, math, calculation, etc. Associative thought, etc. Are all these are in the left, among others, of course, are in the left hemisphere. The right hemisphere is responsible for perception of non-linguistic sounds, holistic reasoning, visual and spatial skills, recognition of patterns, okay, recognition of musical melodies. These are on the right hemisphere. More detailed more details will be here, as you can see. So we have the brain, left and the right. So and here we have the processes and operations that occur in the left hemisphere, and on the right we have the uh, the processes, of course, and operations that occur in the right uh, part of the brain, the right hemisphere. So we can take some time here and see, read these. So and so let's move on to language areas. So three areas of the left hemisphere are vital to language, namely, so we have Broca's area, which is a part of the brain responsible for speech production. Okay, so in the left hemisphere, we have three important areas that are related to language. So we have Broca's area. This part is responsible for speaking, okay, speech production. Uh, Wernicke's area, a part of the brain responsible for language comprehension. This part has to do with language comprehension. Okay, these are named after of course, the psycholinguist who discovered this stuff. That's why they are named Broca's and Wernicke. So these are the scientists who discovered these areas. And we have angular gyrus. Okay, it's a part in the brain involved in number of processes related to language. For example, number processing, okay, memory retrieval, and attention. Now, we have aphasia. Aphasia is defined as the impairment of language function due to localized brain damage that leads to difficulty in understanding and or producing linguistic forms, usually 2010. So Broca's aphasia. So we have, when it comes to aphasia, an impairment of language, we have two types. Okay, so we have Broca's aphasia. It is so named, okay, due to the result from damage to the Broca's area. Aphasia that develops from the lack of functioning of the Broca's area is called non-fluent aphasia. Due to the issues that arise because Broca's area is critical for language production. That is pronunciation errors, for example. So the guy or people who have these Broca's aphasia, basically they have problems with pronouncing words. Okay, so they have pronunciation errors. And then we have Wernicke's aphasia. It is the result of damage to the area of the brain that is in the left hemisphere. Damage to this area causes deficit in the language comprehension. So basically, the people who suffer from Wernicke's aphasia, they have problem with meaning. So they talk, but their speech is meaningless. Okay, so they just talk. They can say anything, and whatever that comes out of their mouth is meaningless. We have four kind of mental operations. Okay, so we have conceptualization. We must conceptualize what we wish to communicate. So when we want to talk, we want to communicate something, we conceptualize first what we want to communicate. And then we have formulation, in which we formulate this thought into linguistic plans. So here we take the conceptualization, okay, that is when we select words, etc. So we form linguistic. So that is we select words, etc. For example, subject plus verb plus object. So we put the whatever we want to communicate in this linguistic plan. Okay, and then we have articulation. So we execute. It is the execution of the execution of speech. So we execute the plan through the muscles in the speech system. And then we have self-regulation. That is, we monitor our speech, assessing whether it is what we want or what we intended to say, and whether we said it the way we intended to. So in self-regulation, we regulate our speech, etc. Well, thank you very much for your attention, and see you in the next, video in which we will be dealing with other modules of linguistics.